Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets and non-Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
Happy birthday to you. I'm Sam Schultz. Birthday horn. That was me blowing a birthday horn.
That's a very sad birthday horn.
Well, we're 35 now.
Oh,
so
that's the most energy we can muster.
it's just the kind of tone that you have on your 35th birthday. You
Yeah,
know?
very neutral. Just like, well, I guess if I had
Not
done
too
things
bad.
differently, I could be
Not
president
too
now.
bad. Yeah. We would be disqualified for having a Muppet podcast.
That's the one thing they would hold against us.
They would say, Sam clearly wants to have sex with Miss Piggy. He can't be the president of the United States.
Well, as you might have already been able to guess from the title or the intro of this podcast, this week we're doing things a little bit differently because it's our birthday. Specifically, this episode will be released between my birthday and Sam's birthday. And the tradition we started here last year is that for our birthday, we will each pick something non-Muppet, but still Muppet adjacent to discuss on the podcast. And we surprise each other with our picks, and then we each have to watch them and discuss them because that's how podcasts work.
And birthdays.
Well, it's not always how birthdays work.
Maybe it will be because of us.
Podcast with your friends for their birthday. The cheapest, worst gift you can force upon someone. But Sam's pick this year was the 1991 Halloween special, Eureeka's Castle. It came from beneath the bed, or Nightmare on Magellan Street. And my pick was the 2013 straight-to-digital DVD movie, in quotes, Scooby-Doo Adventures, The Mystery Map.
We kind of accidentally made a spooky Halloween episode as well.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily expect that. We kind of, half had that last year where you gave us Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge.
Yeah,
And I guess someone could probably recut What About Bob into a horror movie.
that's true. I don't know which one of them would end up being the person murdering people in the What About Bob horror movie, though. Because it could be the doc. I feel like the doctor is
He
closer than Bob.
Yeah. And he has puppets. So he could just, that could be a prequel to Puppet Master. But before we get into talking about our birthday picks this week, something has been happening this weekend as we record. And that something is D23 Expo, Disney's big Comic-Con-like event where they premiere things, they show off new trailers, they announce new projects, lots of Disney
It's for
stuff.
investors, right? Is it for investors?
No,
Is that
fans get to
that's
go.
not that? Oh, okay.
I believe there is some sort of D23 thing that happens in the middle of the year that is specifically for investors.
Oh, okay.
But this is the big expo where everyone gets to come and enjoy. I say that it's hard to get tickets and also incredibly hard to get into the panels you want to get into because much like Comic-Con, you either have to line up for 10 hours or win some sort of lottery. So
Yeah.
even if you got tickets, you don't necessarily get to see Muppets. But we on the internet who were watching from afar did get to see that there were some Muppets hanging out at D23. Saturday was the big sort of Muppet Day at D23 this year. They had a panel celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Muppet Christmas Carol. They had a performance by the Electric Mayhem, and Janice, Animal, and Floyd had a conversation with Taj Mahari about the Muppets Mayhem.
Did that already happen? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that happened yesterday as well. So the biggest thing, I think, was probably the 30th anniversary panel celebrating the Muppets Christmas Carol, which I had theorized wouldn't be that exciting because I thought it was just going to be sort of the people behind the scenes, which they did have. They had Brian Henson, Paul Williams, Dave Goelz, and Polly Smith. She's the costumer for Muppet Christmas Carol. The other names you might recognize because Brian Henson is Jim Henson's son and was the director of that movie. Paul Williams did the music as well as the music for many other Muppet things. And
He's really short.
he's the tiny guy. And Dave Goelz is Gonzo.
Yeah. Gonzo is also there, right?
Yes, Gonzo was also there. So it was not just the humans who made the movie. The characters from the movie also appeared. Kermit, Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, Robin, penguins, and vegetables all showed up to celebrate the 30th anniversary. They started off actually with Piggy, Kermit, Robin, and Gonzo coming out. And Gonzo was very adamant that he was Charles Dickens. He was not Gonzo. And they had a nice little run talking about the potential for a Dickens cinematic universe where Tiny
That would
Tim,
be cool.
Tiny Tim was pitching like Tiny Tim, Love and Thunder, and lots of other ones. And as Charles Dickens said, we can do anything we want. I'm public domain. So the writing, I think, or ad-libbing, whatever was being done there, some of it obviously was pre-written, but the comedy for that opening bit at the Christmas Carol panel was top-notch and was very nice to see.
Did they announce anything big?
So the biggest thing they announced is that this December they are going to be restoring the Muppets Christmas Carol on Disney Plus by adding back in the song When Love Is Gone.
That's cool.
Yeah, so this song has been in certain versions on like VHS and stuff, and then it disappeared for a while. There was some talk about that there wasn't, like they didn't have the film negative of it anymore, so it couldn't be scanned and reinserted into the movie. And so they talked about it being gone. And then I think a year or two ago, Brian Henson came out in an interview and said, like, Disney's got it. They could do it if they wanted to. Because it turns out, I think he talked a bit more about this at the panel. There's a video you can track down and watch. Basically, they found like a 4K intermediate digital file that had been created at some point. So they weren't able to find a negative of it, but they had an old scan of it that they were able to use and feel was up to snuff. And so they were reinserting that. And to celebrate that, they actually brought out Jodie Benson, voice of Ariel in The Little Mermaid, to come out and sing the song live at the panel.
She's not the lady in the movie, is
No.
she? Okay.
No. But I guess they were like, hey, we got some good Disney singers hanging around here. How about we use one of them?
Well, that's a good part of that movie. I'm glad it's going to be back.
Yeah, and it adds some context to that scene specifically because it's like a sad breakup scene. But after that scene, they cut to Rizzo like bawling his eyes out.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot more sense if you watch it with the song.
Speaking of Rizzo.
Not there.
They could have recast Rizzo, right?
I mean, they could have. This could have been the time to bring out a new Rizzo. Interestingly, they did not. They instead they ended this panel with a musical medley of Christmas Carol songs with Nina West singing along with a bunch of the Muppets, including Fozzie, who was being performed by David Rudman, not voiced by David Rudman, just puppeteered by David Rudman. I think they were all lip syncing to a pre-tape thing because Eric Jacobson had to perform Piggy in that moment, and so he couldn't do Piggy and Fozzie. So David Rudman was out there, and a lot of people, including myself, at first glance, there was a photo of somebody just in the crowd posted a photo of the puppeteers performing, and David Rudman these days is an older gentleman who is quite bald and wears glasses. And at very first glance, when you're just scrolling, you're like,
Frank.
Is that Frank? Not Frank. It is David Rudman.
You're not getting that guy under a table again, I don't think.
I think it would take a lot. I don't know that that anniversary thing would have been the thing to get him out because I don't even know that he was on set for a lot of the actual movie itself.
Right.
But it was one of those moments where I had a quick glance and then started looking around like, is anyone else freaking out? No? Okay, it must not be him.
Yeah.
But the medley is out there on the internet. You can find a video of it and watch it. It's very, very good. And it's just nice to, see the Muppets honoring their past in a way that isn't just like, let's sing Rainbow Connection again. Or let's sing Being
Well, that's
Green.
such a universally beloved movie. That's a good place to maybe start building up their goodwill again.
Yeah, and just even seeing Paul Williams and Brian Henson with the Disney Muppets these days feels like such a rarity that it makes me wish they'd just be like, yeah, how about you guys all go have a conversation and figure out maybe something creative you can do together.
Yeah. So it didn't end up feeling weird to you that the Muppets weren't technically performed by people who were in the movie for the most part?
Not really. Like I think there's obviously differences in the performances. You have like Peter Linz being Robin, you have Matt Vogel Kermit, Eric Jacobson's Piggy, Dave Goelz is still there because Dave Goelz is always there. He's a constant. But so it's I think because they're like at the end in the medley, they're all singing together. It's a little harder for it to stand out too much of like, that's not the Kermit I remember singing in that. But it's also weird because that was one of like Steve Whitmire's earliest Kermit things. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely not the same, but it was not like an uncanny valley thing.
Robin sounds like a baby now. He sounds more like a baby than I think he should.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think that's one of the things where they have to dance a line of when you're talking about this old movie, people might have a memory of Tiny Tim and who that was versus like maybe who Robin was a few years ago in the ABC series, because in the ABC series he was performed by Matt Vogel. And then when Matt Vogel got cast as Kermit, they were like, well, now we need a new Robin. So Peter Linz stepped in. And yeah, so it's interesting that just because we haven't seen a lot of Robin in the last few years, that we haven't necessarily warmed up to what this current version of Robin is.
But, to be fair, all of the Muppets sounded weird the first time that they were ever around. Fozzie sounded really weird.
Yeah, and I think there's some really standout moments from Matt Vogel in those panels if you watch them, where there's a very good Kermit flail that happens in the panel where it's one of those old, like Kermit has no bones kind of flails where he's really letting it go. And so, yeah, there's a few very good moments in that panel that are worth checking out. But yeah, then the Electric Mayhem performed Can You Picture That? Because they had released it as a single this week as well. So you can go listen to Can You Picture That on Spotify now as of this week.
Like a new recording of it.
Yes and no. So it's a previously unreleased version of the song, but it is the recording that they used for their performance at Outside Lands back in 2016, the big music festival where they performed live. Right. So it's the recording that they recorded for that they also used at D23 performance. So new as in it has the newer performers' voices on the recording, but it is not actually like a new for 2022 recording.
Okay.
I figure when they probably think of like, hey, we have this pretty good recording that's never been released of this song. Do we really need to do a new one?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You gotta work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. But that was a pretty brief performance, so there wasn't a ton to focus on, except for the fact that in the introduction, something we just talked about last week, the character of Lips has a new personality trait.
Yep.
We talked all last week in our Muppet of the Week segment about how it took 30 years to try and figure out what this character was going to be. And guess what? 40 years later, it's still not figured out entirely, I don't think.
I don't know. I'm not sure they've nailed it personally.
We've got a bit of a Swedish Chef Boomhauer kind of thing going on with Lips, where they're introducing their performance. Dr. Teeth says something like, yeah, you can watch our show on Disney Plus. He doesn't say when, notably. But then Lips jumps in and starts talking, and quickly you notice you can't understand Lips. It was even worse on the live stream because they didn't cut the camera to Lips. You just saw like a wide shot and Lips was actually like cut out of the frame. And so you just hear this babbling noise from off screen, speaking gibberish. And then Janice and the rest of the band respond as if like they all understood exactly what he said. And that's when I realized, oh, that was Lips.
Weird.
As I noted on Twitter, it sounds like he's speaking Simlish. From The Sims.
It sounds exactly like Simlish, yes.
And yeah, again, Lips hasn't had much of a personality through the years, so I guess giving him something is better than nothing because he was, we even talked about this, his one line in the ABC series was, I love gas station sushi. Like, that was a line that could have been said by Zoot or Floyd, it wouldn't have stood out at all. So I guess
But do you need two guys in the Electric Mayhem that you can't really understand? You know what? I caught hell this morning for saying he was a Beaker ripoff.
Yeah, you did.
The main reason he is a Beaker ripoff to me is that his cadence sounds exactly like how Beaker talks. There is no difference to him and Beaker's shtick when there is for other characters who speak nonsense language. It's like there's a differentiation there, but he just sounds like Beaker to me.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this is the way he's going to be in Muppets Mayhem. Like, they wouldn't have debuted that lips at D23 and then had it be different in the show. So this is, I think, what we're going to be expecting is just he's sort of speaks a bunch of nonsense and people go, yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you saying Boomhauer, if he does lean more towards Boomhauer and you can kind of understand what he's saying, I think that would be better.
See, that's what I feel like the Swedish Chef has going for him is like, you hear
true.
little words and you're like, what is he talking about? But you can kind of follow. I just wish it was one of those opportunities where it's like, okay, Lips can have a thing. This show is focusing on the Electric Mayhem. He's going to have a thing. And his thing is a thing that other characters kind of already have.
A bunch of other characters have.
I'm willing to give it some time and see how it ends up being in the show. Yeah. But for now, kind of not feeling it. There are also a couple people also noted on Twitter that when he first started speaking, it almost sounds like Clifford.
That is, it certainly does.
And so there was a split second where it almost sounded like Clifford was talking to them from off stage and then started speaking gibberish. And it was just a very confusing moment where you couldn't really follow what was happening.
Right.
So it's also, the rollout of it wasn't incredibly smooth. Whereas if that would have been a little bit smoother, maybe it would have been a little less jarring to hear that coming out of Lips' mouth.
But there's no trailer or anything for the show.
That's the big thing, is that the only other panel that happened yesterday was that Animal, Janice, and Floyd sat down to have a conversation with Taj Mowry, who is going to be in the show. And one thing of note, they had some very nice outfits on that are clearly some new costumes made for them. But they did not, and to be fair, I haven't seen much footage from this panel, but I know for sure they didn't show a trailer for the new show, Muppets Mayhem, which everyone I think kind of expected that they would show a trailer for their new show, or at least a clip or a new photo or something. And they even, when the Electric Mayhem performed, they were opening up a Disney Plus focused panel where Disney was like showing off a bunch of behind the scenes things for new Disney Plus shows. And so that seemed like, the opportunity. Lily Singh was one of the co-hosts of that panel.
She's also in it, right?
Yeah. And so you had the Electric Mayhem open this panel for Disney Plus shows. Lily Singh is one of the hosts, and there was nothing about the show. And so we'll be seeing this show at some point next year, but who knows how long it's going to be.
You know what one of the best Muppet things of the last few years has been? That commercial where Animal lives in those people's attic.
The Geico ad?
I love that commercial.
Yeah.
Makes me laugh every time.
No, it's very good. And it feels like chaotic and threatening, which is exactly how we want to see Animal. Specifically, there was a point at which during this panel, Animal decided to run out into the audience and play hide and seek. And so there's videos of Animal running through the crowd at D23, and it looks extremely chaotic.
Oh, it's interesting that they didn't have him hidden behind something, the performers.
Yeah, they did that at the very beginning of the Christmas Carol panel. They had him come out behind a brick wall. But then at the end, during the medley, everyone was just out on stage holding them up, which I'm in favor of. Let people know that these puppeteers exist.
Yeah, that seems like a bit of a change in tact from Disney, who I think seem to want to hide the fact that they're puppets.
Yeah, and maybe it's just the constraints of doing a live show at a convention that they're like, yeah, you know what, we kind of have to accept this. But it's definitely nice to see because again, it gives us the insight of like who was performing Fozzie. Oh, it's David Rudman. Hey, look, there he is. We'll be talking about a lot of these guys again later today in our conversation because they worked on the things we're about to talk about. But speaking of the things that we're supposed to talk about today, Sam, what did we watch this week?
On October 19th, 1991, Nickelodeon aired the Eureka's Castle special, It Came From Beneath the Bed, or Nightmare on Magellan Street. Magellan the Dragon, a Big Bird-style giant baby man character, lives in a big castle with all of his friends. Eureka, the matronly wizard in training, Bog and Quagmire, the Moat Twins, a mischievous pair of monsters who live under the castle, and Batley, a bat who serves no other function in the castle but to be a giant asshole. One night, Eureka is reading everyone a bedtime story when Batley barges in and wants to talk about the scary movie he just saw. So he sings a big song about it, which really freaks out Magellan, and everyone tries to reassure him that monsters aren't real, even though many of the people reassuring him are themselves monsters. It's no use, and Magellan can't sleep. Unknown to everyone, though, there is an actual monster stalking around the castle, and as Magellan paces around his room, he sees the dang monster looking at him through his window. Magellan races around the castle, warning his still unbelieving friends about the monster and setting up traps. Meanwhile, a baby's first slasher movie plays out with the rest of the cast as, one by one, they are confronted and scared by the monster. In the end, everyone's running away from the monster until it has them all cornered, at which point it explains that it only wants to hear the rest of the bedtime story that Batley interrupted. Eureka's Castle was a Nick Jr. show that ran from 1989 to 1991, and then in reruns until 1996. The show is aimed at preschoolers and dealt mainly with, I think, like emotional intelligence stuff, like dealing with your feelings. And this show has some major Muppet connections. It starred Cheryl Blaylock, a Sesame Street puppet builder and performer, as Eureka, Noel McNeil, aka Bear from Bear in the Big Blue House, as Magellan, Muppet builder and performer Jim Krupa as Batley, and Sesame Street performers Pam Arciero and Brian Mule as Bog and Quagmire. And fitting with the mildly spooky vibe of the whole show, the head writer was none other than Goosebumps author R.L. Stine. Next up, we watched 2013's Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Map, a puppet version of the 1988 series A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, which itself was a spin-off of the 1970 series Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Scooby and the gang in this iteration are a bunch of kids who live in a treehouse looking for mysteries to solve. This particular evening, though, the mystery finds them in the form of a pirate map that Shaggy and Scooby find baked into their pizza. They recall the legend of Gnarly Beard the pirate and his phantom parrot, who allegedly hid their final treasure somewhere in the vicinity of where they live. So they go out looking for it and run into a few characters on their way, a suspicious archaeologist and her assistant, a creepy lighthouse keeper, and finally, the phantom parrot himself. After some typical Scooby-Doo antics, the gang catches the parrot and discovers that it's actually the pizza guy who brought them the map-filled pizza in disguise. He is possibly the great-great-great-grandchild of Gnarly Beard and thinks the treasure belongs to him. The gang has him arrested for some reason, and then they all go back to the clubhouse. Velma, however, discovers that a piece of the map is missing because Scooby ate it, so they x-ray Scooby, get the complete map, and head back out to do some more treasure hunting. Scooby and Shaggy blunder their way onto Gnarly Beard's ghost ship and end up on an island out in the sea, followed by the rest of the Mysteries Inc. gang in Daphne's airplane. Once there, they find Gnarly Beard digging up his treasure, but they trap and unmask him too. And this time, it's the archaeologist's assistant, who is the pizza guy's sister, and I suppose she is also arrested, though I'm not really sure what her crime is, or what either of their crimes are, really.
There's a lot of mysteries in trying to watch this movie and understand the plot. So I'm excited to dive into that with you.
Scooby-Doo, like I mentioned, was created in 1970 by Joe Ruby and Ken Spears for Hanna-Barbera, apparently as a non-violent alternative to other kids' entertainment on TV at the time. The show became a cultural phenomenon since then, for some reason, and has existed in some form or another basically uninterrupted since 1970. A Pup Named Scooby-Doo is part of that uninterrupted chain of Scoobies, created by the same guy who made Tiny Toons, which makes sense because both shows are about kid versions of famous cartoon characters. Why a puppet version of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo was made 22 years after the cartoon stopped airing, I have absolutely no idea, but this special also has big Muppet connections, as the characters were performed, but not voiced, by some very prominent Muppet performers, including current Cookie Monster, David Rudman, current Miss Piggy, Fozzie, and several other Frank Oz characters, Eric Jacobson, current Kermit and Big Bird, Matt Vogel, Sesame Street performer Stephanie D'Abruzzo, Muppet performer Alice Dinian, current Ernie, Walter, and Harry Monster Peter Linz, and Sesame Street performer Paul McGinnis.
Yeah, and the voices in the Scooby-Doo special. First up, we have maybe the man with the most credits ever on IMDb.
I think he literally is the man with the most credits
Frank
ever.
Welker, who is 76, still out here performing, has 899. Just get one away from that big 900 IMDb credits, with his two most recent ones being as Fred and Scooby. And do you already know this, Sam, but do you want to guess what his first voice acting role was that he got cast for all the way back in 1969, 53 years ago? It was Fred. It was Fred.
Yeah. I think he's the only, maybe this is a true war, but I think he's the only person who's ever voiced Fred.
Which is just...
Except in that new movie. I think that was like the first time, Scoob, I think, was like the first time it was not him.
Wasn't it like Zac Efron or somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zac Efron, yeah.
Yeah, but this man has been performing Fred and Scooby-Doo for 53 years.
Yeah.
This man is also everyone else because he's also Megatron. He's Abu the Monkey and the Cave of Wonders and Raja in Aladdin. He's also the monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
He's also...
We watch movies with our friends every week, and we look up the cast while we're watching it, and a lot of times at the end, I'll be like, this guy just plays a character named, like, Dog, and it's always Frank Welker.
Yeah.
And I have to explain every time, it's like, if you need an animal, for some reason, you don't get the real animal, you go to Frank Welker and you say, would you please bark like a dog?
Yeah.
And he'll do it for you.
But, you know...
For $1 million, probably.
At this point, yeah. But he's also, notably, the voice of Baby Kermit in The Muppet Babies. He's Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget. He's Jabberjaw. He is Cujo, the dog. He's Stripe the Gremlin. He's Ray and Slimer on The Real Ghostbusters. He's Santa's Little Helper on The Simpsons. He's Joanna in The Rescuers Down Under. He's the Goombas and Yoshi in the Super Mario Brothers movie. He's the Martians in Mars Attacks. And just like every other animal in every movie, including the snake in Anaconda.
Yeah, which was one that we just watched, where somebody said, why was somebody playing the snake?
Yeah.
And I said, well, the snake did great. He shined in the role. And you want to know why? Because Frank Welker.
Because Frank fucking Welker, who is a very interesting man, too, because he doesn't do, like, interviews and podcasts, I don't think. At least, as of a while back, I had looked that up, and he just doesn't like to talk about his job or his craft or anything. I think, like, people have talked about how he doesn't see himself as, like, the Frank Welker who's done everything. Like, he's just like, yeah, that's my job, which is just kind of wild.
Well, it'd be kind of, I mean, I guess in a way it would be kind of nice to be so anonymous and also have the most credits on IMDb.
And just be, like, in every movie. Like, it is that thing of, like, does a dog react in this movie? That was probably Frank Welker going, But rounding out the voices, we have another bizarre Raiders of the Lost Ark connection here because John Rhys Davies is the voice of Gnarlybeard.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
Who, if you don't know him, he plays Salah in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but he also plays Gimli in Lord of the Rings. And for some reason, they got him to play Gnarlybeard in this. And that voice really could have been anybody. But I'm glad we got 2 stars of Raiders of the Lost Ark here in this movie.
He did a lot of voice acting. Like, he's done a lot of voice acting.
Yes.
He was in, like, the Aladdin sequel. He was in Gargoyles. He was in SpongeBob. So not really that.
I was going to say so was Frank Welker, but I feel like that's a gimme for, like, literally any animated product. Like, of course Frank Welker was also in there.
Yeah.
But playing Shaggy, we have Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy in the live-action movies. And then we have...
Wait, he was Gimli and Treebeard in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Not Matthew
Anyway,
Lillard,
sorry.
by the way. That was John Rhys Davies.
Oh, yeah. Matthew Lillard would be a good... I could see him as a particularly high tree.
Just doing the Shaggy voice, but as Treebeard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matthew Lillard notably has been playing Shaggy a lot since he was cast as him in the live-action film. Gray Delisle Griffin is the voice of Daphne and Dr. Escobar in this. She is another person who has like 600, 700 credits on IMDb. And most notably, as recognizable to me, is she is Catwoman in the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah.
But she's also so many things where it's like you've probably heard her voice.
And she's been Daphne for a pretty long time, too.
That, too. And speaking of people you've definitely heard their voices, D. Bradley Baker is the voice of Ye Phantom Parrot and Stu Stokowski in this. He is every clone in every animated Star Wars product.
Right.
So that's most notably, he's played 1,000 different characters on Star Wars animated series. He's also Klaus the Alien on American Dad. He was Olmec in Legends of the Hidden Temple. He was Daffy Duck in Space Jam. He's Perry the Platypus on Phineas and Ferb. He is Baby Animal and Baby Sweetums on the new Muppet Babies. D. Bradley Baker is sort of he's becoming, I think, sort of the new Frank Welker in a lot of people's eyes. But Frank Welker is still the Frank Welker, so he's still out there doing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, D. Bradley Baker is like the second most famous voice actor. I think Great Elise, I think is how you say it.
Oh.
I think she is like the second most famous, maybe.
Yeah.
These are all like the most famous voice actors. Maybe partially because there aren't really like everybody who's voiced by is like a famous person now in movies, especially. So there's kind of just a rare group of voice actors at this point.
Yeah, and rounding that out, as Lighthouse Lou and the hot dog vendor in this movie, we have Jeff Bennett, who was frickin' Johnny Bravo.
Terrific.
Yeah. So that is all the people in that movie. Again, some of them have Muppet connections, some don't. We should also mention that Stephanie DeBruzzo got to also voice Velma as well as perform Velma in this.
Right.
Which was, it's her one and only time performing Velma, so I guess they just thought she did a good job. But let's go back and talk about Eureka's Castle first, Sam, since you mentioned that one first in your rundown. Do we want to rate these out of our 5-star rating scale system?
Sure.
All right, what are you going to give Eureka's Castle? It came from beneath the bed or Nightmare on Magellan Street.
You know what the main problem with it was? It was impossible to see.
It's a very poor quality copy on YouTube. Clearly recorded off of somebody's VHS tape that's been sitting in a closet for 30 years.
There is a lot of Eureka's Castle on Paramount Plus as of very recently, but this is not one of them, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
It's just the first season right now. But I would give it, I have to give it like 4.5 stars because as I was watching it, my brain was like, I saw this when I was 3. I remember this distinctly.
Yeah.
I feel like this has like informed a lot of my life in a way.
Interesting. Yeah, I watched a lot of Eureka's Castle as a kid. I do not remember this episode specifically. I'm going to give it...
It was like a primetime special, so maybe if you weren't paying attention...
Yeah, I was sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 stars because...
Fair enough.
It felt like after watching a lot of puppet content for this podcast that is aimed more at adults, watching puppet content that was like specifically aimed at young children didn't click with me throughout the whole thing.
I would agree that is I think there's a lot of nice moments of humor for the parents watching too, but yeah, I would agree with you that it does feel very kiddie. Yeah,
I think both of these sort of have similar issues actually, in that they fill a lot of time by just saying like, a monster, run. Like there's a lot.
There's a big part
these.
in the middle of this special where I was totally zoned out. Like I don't remember I don't remember how the monster ends up confronting all of them about the book. He just is like, they're just running away from him and they just all end up in the same place. Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, because everyone's going to bed and slowly but surely the monster creeps on everybody.
Does Magellan's trap ever pay off? That's what I don't remember.
Yes, he ends up catching Bog and Quagmire.
That's right.
In the trap.
Because it's 2 monsters.
Yes.
Yes. That when Bog came out with that birthday cone on her nose, I was like, yes, I remember that so clearly from my childhood. And I haven't seen it since then. But I have seen clips of the monster. And when the monster's in the window and the lightning strikes, that was the part where I had to run in the other room and just peek because I was so scared of that monster.
A moment that is quite similar to a moment we see in Scooby-Doo Adventures of the Mystery Map.
Yeah.
We get another creepy set of eyes leering outside of the window.
Yeah.
And Gnarly Beard and the monster in this don't look that different.
That's true. Yeah, and there's traps and stuff. They're very similar in a lot of ways, for sure.
Which, again, Sam and I do not discuss what our picks are going to be for our birthday episode, so complete coincidence here. I did have I went on a weird little puppet making deep dive of who made the puppets for Eureka's Castle because I wasn't sure, and it seems like 3 Design is the name of the company. It's Jim Krupa's company who has worked with the Muppets on a ton of things. It's starting with the Muppets Take Manhattan, but he also worked on Sesame Street and Gullah Gullah Island and a lot of things. The deep dive this sent me on was wondering about Mr. Woodchuck from Full House, because the eyes of Mr. Woodchuck and the eyes of Magellan are
the same.
Pretty much the same.
Similar.
And so I was like, I wonder if they designed that. I ended up getting a response on Twitter from John Cody. And John Cody is a puppeteer himself who has done, just, again, all these puppeteers have done a lot of different things. But he responded saying that Jim Krupa, has never mentioned it to me, and there's a few things on the puppet that don't match the redesign's general aesthetic, like the tongue material. He said, my best guess is someone on the West Coast built it. So we have an answer that it was probably not Jim Krupa's company.
I buy it.
Yeah, no, I totally buy that. But yeah, so...
He's kind of a good-looking puppet, huh?
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Woodchuck.
Which is a shame because, again, we're going on a little tangent here, but Mr. Woodchuck was not long for this world, and at some point, Dave Coulier's golden retriever ate the face
No.
of Mr. Woodchuck. And so there's some terrifying photos out there of Dave Coulier with Mr. Woodchuck where his face is just like ripped off, and you just see his hand in the mouth. And so... For Fuller House,
Oh no.
they could not use the original Mr. Woodchuck puppet, which was destroyed. So they used one that Jimmy Fallon's team had actually built for a Full House sketch they did on Jimmy Fallon's show. And
Doesn't look good.
it does not look as good as that original Mr. Woodchuck. And so watching Fuller House, which of course I did, the puppet does not look as good as the original Mr. Woodchuck, which is a very, very good looking puppet.
Wow. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Getting back to Eureeka's Castle, we mentioned a bunch of the people who worked on this, like Noel McNeil, who was Bear in the Big Blue House, but also performs a bunch of characters on Sesame Street, a bunch of Snuffleupaguses. He's a suit guy a lot of times.
Yeah. He just is like Magellan is Bear, but more dumb.
Yeah, and if
Their
you hear
voices are exactly
Noel
the same.
McNeil talk, he's also just kind of Bear and Magellan.
What a great voice.
Yeah.
I loved Bear in the Big Blue House. I just wanted to live in that house so bad.
Noel McNeil does like cameos and TikToks and stuff as Bear,
that,
which is
yeah.
delightful.
Yeah.
He has also puppeteered on just a bunch of Muppet projects and is currently the main puppeteer for the characters you see pop up on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Ah.
So whenever you
cool.
see like a puppety character, or sometimes like one of the full suit mascot characters.
That's him in there?
A lot of times, yeah.
Huh.
Interestingly, I was looking up some of the other puppeteers, and Lynn Hippen is credited as performing Cooey, who is Magellan's little bird friend.
Yeah, who's basically a snurd? What were those called?
Snurf?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cooey's a snurf.
Couldn't find much about her. This is her only IMDb credit. And Brian Meal, we've talked about, who plays Bog and Mr. Knack in this. We've talked about him a bunch of times because he was one of the original Elmos when they were still figuring out Elmo. He was also Barkley the dog, and he's our favorite Muppet Shark.
The one on Sesame Street.
Yes, because he's 1,000 other characters on Sesame Street, too. And speaking of 1,000 other characters on Sesame Street, the man who plays Fluffy in this is Joey Mazzarino, who played Murray Monster on Sesame Street, the short-lived but much beloved monster. He was also the left head of the Two-Headed Monster from 2001 to 2016. And just tons of Sesame characters, because he was also head writer for Sesame Street for a long time and won either 22 or 25 Emmy Awards, because Wikipedia says both, but also worked on The Adventures of Elmo and Grouchland, Muppets from Space, and Kermit's Swamp Years. More recently, he left Sesame Street, but has worked on Kidding, The Jim Carrey Show, Julie's Green Room, the Julie Andrews Netflix show, and now
that's a Henson production, right?
I believe at least, I don't know if it's a Henson production, but at least puppets built by Henson. I don't remember the exact ownership there. And he now works on Don Quixote, which is something we'll be talking about more when we're talking about Scooby-Doo. Getting back into Eureka's Castle, the beginning of this, immediately I was like, I remember this show being a little better. But that's also the danger of being 4 or 5 years old when I was watching it.
I thought it was great. I went back and I watched one of the episodes in HD on Paramount Plus.
Ooh.
It looks so good. Those puppets look so good in a way that you're just not picking up on with this very bad rip. So if you watch this, I would encourage you to look at a real episode first and just know what the characters look like and then go back into it.
Yeah, I will say one of the things I remember from being a kid is that these characters were some of my favorite looking characters.
Yeah.
Especially Batley and Magellan. They're just, I don't know, such interesting designs, and the concept of the whole show where it opens up with a giant coming out. And
yes, the opening theme song is so good.
which is a shame that it's not in the Halloween special, which I understand it's a different tone than the rest of this episode, so it might be a little weird, but yeah, you usually get a giant coming out and saying, "My castle music box."
Exactly. This was my, and this is a bad thing to say on a Muppet podcast, this was my Muppets. I watched the show every day. I loved this show.
I think this was weirdly sort of my Muppets as well. And I think it's just because, this is what we had. There wasn't a Muppet
was easy
TV
to watch.
series to watch besides Muppet Babies. And so I think I watched a lot of Muppet Babies and this growing up.
Me too.
But I think there was also, an era of my life where I probably thought this was Muppets, or at least was a Jim Henson production.
Sure, if you polled people and showed them a picture, they would, 75% of people would say, them are Muppets.
It's like when people call Shrek like a Pixar movie, and it's just like, no, DreamWorks and Pixar are very different things.
Yeah.
But if you just show this, like if you show Magellan to people, they might call him a Muppet, and they wouldn't be that far off.
Sure. But what was bad? What was the thing that made you think I thought this was better?
I don't know. Something about just like maybe the pacing or the writing or something. I think early on I just kind of had to readjust my expectations.
It was more for babies than I was expecting it to be.
Right. And I think that's where once I was able to adjust and get into it, I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're here for. But I think I was expecting to be sort of blown away by
it's like
this.
Really polished Sesame Street segments is sort of what the tone feels like, where they're just like very slowly talking through everything.
But I do feel like it all, I think, comes together better than the Scooby-Doo one that we'll talk about, where I almost wish these had been flipped in how long they were. Like, I wish we had gotten 45 minutes of Eureka's Castle and like 22 minutes of Scooby-Doo, because this felt a little too rushed in like the story just like solving itself and being like, oh, problem solved, the monster's a friend.
It simultaneously also runs out of gas partway through, so I don't know.
True. I did like the songs in this. Batley sings a song about the monster, greatly exaggerating what the monster would look like, saying it has like 7 noses and mouths on both sides of its head.
Well, now the monster in his movie might have looked like that. He did see a movie,
That's true, but he's definitely, trying to scare people into what this monster might look like.
Yeah.
But we get some great MS Paint art showing what he's describing over his head when he's singing. But it's, I throughout this, I enjoyed the music.
There's only kind of one song that they sing twice, though, right? Don't Bog and Quagmire just sing Scary Monster reprise?
There's a song at one point where Eureeka and Mr. Knack are just like, hey, everything's cool.
Oh, yes, the cool down song where Mr. Knack's like, I saw a bear, but I was just calm and the bear left.
Yeah.
That's not good advice for seeing a bear.
No, it's a very bad advice song, but it's not a bad song.
No, it's a good song. But please, when you see a bear, if you grew up with Eureka's Castle, you're just going to be like,
just smile at it. It'll go away.
The bear will leave.
Well, in
the bear won't leave.
Eureka sings about meowing at a lion and it just going away.
That one's more rare, I suppose. But...
Yeah, less likely to encounter a lion. But yeah, the whole message is just be cool and chill towards monsters and you'll be fine. They literally say, take a deep breath and chill out.
And the message of things that look scary aren't always scary. With animals, that is generally not true.
Especially a bear and a lion. If that's the examples you're going to use, don't do this to bears and lions.
Yeah. But I can't think of any good example, really.
Like a dog. Dogs
are very dangerous.
They can, but pit bulls aren't inherently dangerous, even if they look scarier. So I think there's an example there that you could say, I saw a scary looking dog, but I went up to it and it was nice. As opposed to just there was a bear that I smiled at and it ran away.
That sounds dangerous too. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Mr. Knack has a really unsettling smile.
I could see that. That makes sense to me. I was going to say, sort of the de facto mom and dad sort of characters in this show, who are Eureka and Mr. Knack, who Reed is a little bit older than everybody else. Yeah. They're the ones who come in and just say, God, shut up. Just chill out.
Yeah, but they are wrong.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. They're wrong and they're not, to be fair, because if they, had been cool and chill from the very beginning with this monster, everything might have just worked out fine.
That is another problem with it, where Bog and Quagmire are also very scary, but nobody really seems to notice that they're about equally as scary as this big monster, and that they live in a fantasy world and are surrounded by monsters at all times.
Yeah, it's kind of like on The Muppet Show when they talk about animals in a certain way, where you're like, you're an animal too, dude.
Yeah, or when they're like, Gonzo, what are you? And the person saying that is just like a purple amorphous blob.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what are you?
Yeah. Why don't you ever look in the mirror, Scooter?
Yeah, when you point a finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Or 2 maybe in Scooter's case.
Yeah.
I think he's only got the 4. Yeah, I feel like I don't overall have much to say about this, except that like when I was a kid, this scared the shit out of me and I had to watch it from a different room, which I was trying so hard to get back into that mindset of being scared of Fuzzy. Was that his name? Fuzzy?
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it.
Fluffy. Sorry.
Fluffy.
Because
Fluffy
Fluffy is also it's the book they are reading. That's the whole hook of this, is that they are reading Fluffy the Bunny, which is the children's book, which is all about Fluffy the Bunny, and there's Fluffy the Bear, and even the turtle is Fluffy. Everything in this book is Fluffy.
And then Bog says, it's a weird book.
Yeah.
I like that part. Bog and Quagmire were my favorite because they had a very funny back and forth that felt more like for grown-ups. I think I have become Batley. I think I grew up into Batley.
So
He also looks like you, I think.
Yeah.
Too.
there was, the era of Facebook when everyone was like changing their profile pictures to like the characters that look like you. I
Yeah.
changed mine to Batley.
He looks like you, and that's great. I love Batley.
I'm fine being Batley, especially because he walks in at the beginning and he like is like, "Let's stop with this baby book. I just saw a horror movie that I want to tell you about."
Picnic Time was which is the ending theme that they also don't play in this, was stuck in my head throughout my whole childhood. So there's no way that I could even talk remotely like, what's the word when you're being fair to something?
Objectively?
I could not even begin to talk objectively about this show.
Yeah, no, I
basically.
think like I would be curious what somebody who's never watched Eureka's Castle would think of this episode specifically, but like just sort of going back and watching Eureka's Castle in general, I'd be interested to see how that lands with people.
Yeah, Rachel got bored pretty quick.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Magellan, I also realized, because the next segment in this that we haven't talked about yet is that Magellan does then see an actual terrifying monster outside of his window after Batley has tried to scare everyone about monsters. And so Magellan gets a little freaked out. And this was the moment where I realized, like, oh, Magellan's a lot more Big Birdie than I remember. Specifically trying to tell people something is real and nobody believing him, but also in the way the puppet works is clearly a Big Bird type situation. So his movements are, I think, just sort of one of those things where if you got your arm above your head as you're walking around as a giant creature, you're gonna move similarly, no matter if it's a bird or a dragon. I mean, it's worth noting too that Noel McNeil has also been Big Bird multiple times. Usually when Big Bird is doing something where he is not speaking or is maybe lip syncing to a pre-recorded thing, Noel McNeil has stepped in for Matt Vogel to sort of be his backup Big Bird. Or a lot of times too when Big Bird is traveling. So if Big Bird is doing some sort of road trip thing where they need to send Big Bird to Australia and all these things, Noel McNeil a lot of times will be the on-the-road Big Bird.
I feel like in a different universe where we didn't decide that the Muppets needed to kind of sound like they used to sound, he would have been an amazing permanent Big Bird.
Yes, I think you're right. I think he obviously got the chops puppeteering-wise. I think he just probably doesn't sound enough like Carol Spinney to be a Big Bird. Then Magellan decides to build his monster trap, which I liked a lot because the moment he decides, he looks down and picks up a bucket and goes, "Oh, wow, look at this bucket full of stuff." And I just like the idea of like picturing that writing room, just being like, well, how do we help him find his bucket full
really
of
have a lot of
stuff?
time. Yeah, he can't go really get all the stuff. He kind of just needs a bucket full of stuff. R.L. Stine wasn't really firing on all cylinders that day. You ever read a Goosebumps book? Yes, because we were on a podcast about it. And gotta tell you, they're not the best books. I think probably a character in a Goosebump book has said, "Look at this bucket full of stuff."
And then we get the siblings, Bog and Quagmire, who, as you mentioned earlier, are really the highlight of this. I don't remember if they're the highlight of the show in general, but of this episode at least, they are.
I think you have to have the whole ensemble or else it doesn't really work. But so they're all the highlight of the show to me. But I just like I don't know if I liked them as much when I was a kid, but now they're the ones that I was most like, these two have something going on.
Yeah, I barely remembered them going into this. So I don't really feel like I had strong memories of them as a kid. I feel like I definitely gravitated towards Batley, Eureka, and Magellan. I always saw Mr. Knack as like the boring adult. So
Mr. Knack is a non-entity.
Yeah.
He basically might as well not be in the show. I think they swim. I think they have a segment a lot of times where they're underwater and they're full body. and they're swimming around. I can't quite remember what the point of those are, but I think that that's kind of what they would do in a regular episode. They would like find stuff. I don't remember what they would do, but they liked peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as well. I remember that.
They're supposed to be in the moat, right? Like around the castle.
They like live in the basement in the sewer or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, their idea in this is, hey, Magellan's so freaked out about a potential monster. What if we scared him even more?
Get his ass. Yeah.
So they sing about dressing up as the scary monster, reprising the song that Batley sang earlier. But of course, then the real monster shows up and scares them away.
Yep. The eyeballs on springs that Quagmire's wearing is another thing that's burned into my brain.
The design on all of these is great, like the base puppets, but also the idea of them dressing up. And the design on Fluffy, the monster specifically, is very good because it's just like this furry body on these giant sort of like crane-like legs.
Really realistic stick legs.
Yeah. And I can't even really tell how they're doing the puppeteering.
No, I think if it was higher quality, maybe it'd be easier to see because he does have kind of a beard flowing underneath him. So I don't know, because they're on real sets, so it's not green screen necessarily.
Yeah, again, it's really hard to tell in this VHS copy. So maybe in HD, you could be like, oh, there's the guy. I see him. But
it's just a full human man and not even disguised at all.
He's wearing like a ghillie suit of fur and just being like, hey, don't notice me.
He's just like loafers poking out the bottom.
But then Magellan sets up his trap and uses the fish fountain as an alarm. The fish fountain is...
You know the flowers from Pee-wee's Playhouse? That's the fish fountain.
Yeah, let's go with an even older reference to reference for this show.
That was also my Muppets. Pee-wee's Playhouse was my actual real shit when I was a kid.
I didn't watch Pee-wee.
Oh, I should have made you watch some Pee-wee. It's hard to find, I think. I don't know if it might be on Netflix still. I'm not sure. But...
Yeah, I've seen some Pee-wee, but I was not a Pee-wee kid.
Ooh, me and my dad. My dad loved Pee-wee, so we would watch that all the time.
But Magellan does catch something, and as we said earlier, it is bogging Quagmire. So his monster trap has sort of failed, but
it worked. He caught two monsters.
He did
catch two monsters.
And he caught the monsters who were trying to scare him.
Yeah, exactly. So it worked perfectly.
This is the point at which Eureeka and Mr. Knack come in to sing a song about, hey, just chill and monsters won't eat you. It's fine.
And bears and lions, not monsters, real things.
Yeah. But again, bad advice. Don't do that. At this point, and a little bit earlier, I was already thinking this, but this was really the point where I'm like, I bet this monster is nice and just wants something and isn't actually
This is when
a
you
jerk.
figured out the monster was nice?
I mean, he didn't...
Not when you started watching the show and it's a baby show?
They could have bad guys in these shows.
I guess. Okay, maybe.
But I didn't think necessarily... I didn't think the payoff would be what it was, but I had a feeling that, this was going to be a story where the monster has a sore tooth and he just needs somebody to help him out, or like one of those kind of stories. But of course, once the monster is actually confronting everyone has been convinced. No one remembers to be cool and chill like they have been told to be. And they just run around and they scream a lot. But it does turn out that Fluffy is the name of this monster. And so he just wants to hear the rest of the baby book, Fluffy the Bunny.
It's his favorite book.
It's his favorite book, which I guess, I liked Uncle Traveling Matt as a kid because that's my name.
I can't think of any characters named Sam.
Really?
That existed.
There's a lot.
Which one? Name one.
Weren't you like a big Cheers fan as a kid? Or Casablanca? Sam the Eagle?
I don't think I knew his name when I was a kid.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot more fictional characters named Sam.
Uncle Sam.
Yeah, the poster man.
Yeah. Okay, I found a whole list. Here we go. These are all real people, so this isn't very useful.
Samwise Gamgee, Sam Witwicky.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was like not a kid when that came out. Sam Witwicky, who's that? Oh, from Transformers?
Yeah, obviously. Because the only way I can ever think of the name Sam Witwicky is Sam Witwicky. Sam Witwicky.
That was a really good voice. You should be a voice actor.
Thank you. I should be the new Frank Welker is what you're saying.
Yeah. Here we go. Fictional characters. Samantha Carter from Stargate SG-1. No idea. Sam Eagle, Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell.
I found a bizarre list called Top 10 Movie and TV Characters Named Sam. It's got Samwise Gamgee. It's got Sam Witwicky, Sam Puckett from iCarly, Sam from Holes, Sam Flynn from Tron Legacy,
Yeah.
Samuel Gerard from The Fugitive, Sam Sparks from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and number 8 on this list for some reason is Ben Shapiro.
Oh, gross. Why?
I don't want to investigate it, but that's the bizarre twist. And there only also seems to be 8 on the list of top 10 movie characters named Sam, and number 8 for some reason is a real man named Ben
Shapiro. That's horrible. Sam Seaborn from The West Wing.
There you go. There's lots of good Sams, not a lot of Matts.
There aren't any good Sams. We haven't named one good Sam. Yosemite Sam. That's probably
Boom,
the
best
Sam I was
Sam.
most familiar with. And I was scared of him. He was always shooting guns.
That's not his fault.
And Toucan Sam, and he sucks. Sam I Am from Green Eggs and Ham, the bane of my existence. I hated him because people would always say that to me. Buy me stuff with Sam I Am on it. No, I don't want that. And then Pajama Sam from the video game. He was good. And Sam from Sam and Max, also good. I think he's the dog. So there's a few good ones.
Yeah, there's like one Matt.
Uncle Traveling Matt.
And then Daredevil. No,
he's a really good one, though.
Yeah.
Matt Murdock.
Yeah. But again, not very many Matts out there.
This is our birthday episode, folks. We get to talk about whatever we want to for as long as we want to. So I'm going to go to the fictional Matts. There aren't that many. You're right.
Case closed.
How could there be so few fictional characters named Matt?
When there's every kid who was born in 1987 had to be named Matt, aside from you being the Sam that they allowed in.
Matt, a non-playable Mii opponent in the Wii series. Really scraping the bottom
Wow.
of the barrel.
It's a Mii opponent, but a non-playable one. So you just have to, he's just the villain of a Wii
Matt,
game.
The enemy. Wow, there really are not that many good ones at all.
Told you.
I'm so sorry. I will never complain again.
But yeah, that sort of wraps up Eureeka's Castle.
Not a lot to it.
No, not a lot. I mean, it's an episode of a kid's show that there was 1,000 episodes of. So it makes a lot of sense if you tried to go back and, review one episode of Power Rangers, it probably wouldn't have a lot of meat on the bones.
That's true. Pretty much you could say the Rita Repulsa's on the moon. She thinks of a scheme. The kids are in the juice shop. They're getting in some kind of trouble that's related to the monster somehow. Then the monster comes down. Then they fight the monster. Then they get big and fight the monster again. Then they go back to the juice shop and they settle their differences in their real life. Does that basically cover it?
Yeah, you forgot the part in every episode where she has to say, "Make my monster grow." And then you forgot the part.
That's when I said they fight the monster again. That's when he gets
right.
big.
Because that's also when they fight for 20 minutes and go, "I don't know how we're ever going to beat this thing." And say, "Don't we have a giant sword that we use every time?" And they go, "Oh yeah, we have a giant sword." And they call for the giant sword, and that's a one-hit kill.
Why don't we use the giant sword first?
It's very expensive.
Don't ask questions like that.
Very energy intensive. That's what the giant sword coming from space caused global warming.
Yeah, they don't want to have to use it. They just have to use it every time. But every time they do, they release like a small country's worth of carbon into the air. That is what it is. You're right. So yeah, I can see baby Sam, who still liked scary stuff, even though he was scared of it. I can understand why I liked this show so much. And sitting watching it, I was like, yeah, this is a Halloween special for babies, which is exactly the kind of thing I love.
Same. I see the charm in Eureeka's Castle. The characters are greatly... the characters are really well designed, and they're also fully realized characters with like their own personality traits.
Yeah, they're fun.
But speaking of scary movies for babies, it's time for Scooby-Doo Adventures, the Mystery Map. There's too much punctuation in that title. There's an exclamation point followed by a colon.
Weird title. Scooby-Doo Adventures. What is it? What is this show? Was it a pilot for something that was supposed to be more of?
It was.
Okay.
Apparently it was intended.
How did you find any info about this? There's very little info about either of the things we watched.
Yeah, so some of it was like literally searching Twitter for some of the words, like mystery map, to see
Interesting.
what somebody had said about it. And thankfully, Stephanie DeBruzzo, who was one of the performers in this, had said a few things about it online when it was coming out.
Ah. Okay.
So notably, if you look at the credits for this, it is written by Tosh E. Mab and directed by Jomac Nope. Those people don't
Whose
exist.
names are those, really?
Those people don't exist. These are obviously pseudonyms. There's no direct answer to who wrote this or who directed it.
Oh.
The only weird thing about Tosh E. Nab is that it unscrambles to the Obamas. So
Could be.
the Obamas secretly wrote this. But in talking about the director, Stephanie DeBruzzo said on Twitter, "If you enjoy Joe McNope's work, I suggest you watch anything produced by Spiffy Pictures," which Spiffy Pictures is David Rudman's company that produces Don Quixote.
Oh.
Which probably means...
That's a great logo.
Oh, yeah. And that probably means David Rudman directed it under a pseudonym for some reason. But it seems like this was basically a Spiffy Pictures production, but then not really. So it seems like it was made in-house via the Spiffy Pictures, like, puppet building and directing.
It must be a union thing or something like that.
Something.
Yeah. It wasn't bad enough to, like, be embarrassed of, I don't think.
Yeah. Spiffy Pictures, if you're out there, if you're listening, that's like the puppet company I would most like to be hired by, actually, I think, because they're based in Illinois, outside of Chicago. So
What are you going to do for them?
I don't know, but, go work with David Rudman.
Just be the idea guy.
Noel McNeil lives there and works there with them, too. So, yeah, I'm always jealous when I see...
Not me a job, so... we're a package deal, right, Matt?
Sure. Yeah, totally. All right, you're listening to me now. Sam can't hear this.
I can draw. Matt can do video stuff.
I can do voices. We just said I could do voices.
He's great at voices. I can't hear him, but I would assume he's saying something about being good at voices. He's great at voices. I can do voices too. I've been a puppet. Watch Sideshow Kids. I've been a puppet.
I've been a
He's
puppet
been
too.
A puppet.
Look at we're puppets already.
You know what? Why are we being enemies, Matt? We'll both
We should
just
be
go
working
work
together.
for them. Yeah.
Spiffy Pictures, if you're out there listening, hire us.
But don't just hire one of us or our friendship will end.
You have to hire both of us.
Please.
But yeah, looking into more of this, Stephanie DeBruzzo is also the one who said this was intended to be a pilot for a potential series, which I think you can feel because there's a break in the middle of this movie.
Yeah.
And overall to me, I feel like this seems like it was probably fun to make, but I had to rewind it multiple times to follow what was happening.
Obviously, you didn't watch A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, which was similarly completely confusing and you couldn't tell what was going on.
Okay, so this is on brand then.
Yeah.
Okay.
This felt exactly like an episode of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
All right, then.
Which
good
is
job.
fine, because I liked A Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
But yeah, this movie was premiered at San Diego Comic-Con in July of 2013 and then was released as a digital download as a Walmart exclusive.
It was a digital download and exclusively on DVD at Walmart.
Yes, also in July of 2013. And it was released everywhere on DVD in February of 2014. They couldn't hold it back. Walmart couldn't just keep their hands on this one.
Yeah, and then it won the Academy Award.
That's reassuring to hear that this reminded you of an episode of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo because I had not watched that show. So I was going into this not really recognizing the models of these characters.
That's what I was... So one of the notes I took was, they're children in this iteration of Scooby-Doo. Is it ever communicated that they are children in the puppet version?
I mean, they just call them meddling kids again.
But they call them that always.
Yeah, even when they look 30.
I think the Scooby Gang, I think of them as in their very early 20s or late, like 18, 19, in the regular Scooby-Doo.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think the main, line drawn in the sand of these are children is they don't drive a van.
Yes, yes. But the clubhouse they live in looks the same as from A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. All their character models are exactly the same as A Pup Named... Not exactly, but Fred's is exactly, and Velma's is exactly, and Daphne's a little different. But yeah, I mean... It is A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, which is even more confusing to me. I don't know. I guess it's easier to make little kid-looking puppets, probably, is one thing, than to make... Might be a little creepier if they were like, I'm adult Shaggy.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Speaking of the puppets, though, we mentioned who is puppeteering in this, but we didn't say who they are performing. Partially, it is like, they're not voicing them, so it's kind of harder to tell just by watching their performances. But David Rudman, who is Cookie Monster and Scooter and Janice, is performing Scooby-Doo. Eric Jacobson is performing Shaggy. He's also Fozzie and Piggy and Grover. Matt Vogel, who is Kermit and Big Bird and Floyd and the Count, is performing Fred Jones, which is a nice little, twist there where he is performing a character that will be voiced by Frank Welker, and he is also the performer of Kermit, whose baby version was voiced by Frank Welker.
Right. His puppeteering stood out to me as particularly good.
Same. There's a couple moments in this that, I think Fred is the thing that makes me laugh multiple times throughout this.
Just the way that he runs, he's puts his arms up like cartoon run. Yeah, he looks good.
There's also a couple moments where he's just staring blankly ahead. He's zoning out and over a lady. And just the puppeteering and the performance by both Matt Vogel and Frank Welker in those moments stood out. Stephanie D'Abruzzo performs Velma and Shirley Stukowski. Stephanie D'Abruzzo is not only a Sesame Street performer, but she was also one of the original cast members of Avenue Q. And she happens to be married to Craig Shemin, author of the upcoming Sam and Friends book.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Alice Dinian performs Daphne and Dr. Escobar in this. She has done lots of Sesame Street, Dark Crystal, and Muppet things, most recently in Muppet's Haunted Mansion. But she also did a bunch of the old Muppet meeting films and just a bunch of other things. Then Peter Linz is Ye Phantom Parrot, Gnarly Beard, Stu Stukowski, and Lighthouse Lou. Peter Linz you'll know as being Walter and Ernie and Harry Munster. Also, he was on Bear in the Big Blue House as well. More recently, he is also Robin the Frog, as we talked about, but he's also Statler and Joe the Legal Weasel.
Gnarly Beard was good too. Gnarly Beard also had some good puppeteering, I thought.
Gnarly Beard's just a great puppet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good puppet. And Paul McGinnis here is doing additional puppets, is what he's credited as. And that's sort of what Paul McGinnis's role has been throughout the years on different Muppet and puppet productions, is he just kind of is a lot of the other puppets in the scene. Paul McGinnis does a lot of those.
Sesame Street seems so fun to work on because you just get to do so much different stuff all the time. It seems like all these people have a billion credits.
Yeah, you look up Joey Mazzarino's characters and you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it's all these insane characters you've never heard of. One of the first things about the puppets that I noticed is that Shaggy has a weird trigger mechanism mouth like Rizzo.
Yeah.
Whereas most of these puppets are all hand in the mouth, traditional sort of hand puppets.
I didn't love that.
Yeah, it seemed like it limited his performance a little bit more than it did the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you could have gone a different direction with Shaggy.
Well, and to have the man who performs Piggy and Fozzie and Grover be limited to the trigger mechanism seems like a little bit of a...
And Shaggy's a very expressive character, too.
Yeah.
Scooby, on the other hand, is adorable.
Scooby's
so
great.
Cute.
And we get multiple versions of Scooby in this when he eats his Scooby snacks. And so
that's also a thing from a pup named Scooby-Doo.
I assumed because it was a wild twist.
It's just such a weird pull to make this based on a pup named Scooby-Doo, which really you can only watch if you were my age and were watching Boomerang in 1994.
Right. And that's what I think it makes sense that if this was the pilot for a new series of things, that this would have been sort of reestablishing that style for kids of the era. But on its own, out of context, being the only puppet Scooby-Doo thing and the only thing based on this 20-year-old cartoon, it just stands out in a weird way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we one of the other production notes on this, which is something that I'll talk about a little bit as we go through, there's a few songs in this as well, just like there was a few songs in Eureka's Castle. The songs in this...
And the old Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
It's the same thing then, too, yeah.
But in this, the songs come in at very weird times.
During the chase scenes.
And don't seem to have much to do with what we're watching.
Not at all.
And if anything, are there's a song called Here Comes Summer.
That's the opposite of what we were watching, where we were watching them in a cave, and it's dark.
They're running around in a cave at night, and it's here comes summer. And you're like, what is happening? And then there's a song called Dig It, Scooby-Doo, which you think they might play when Scooby is digging up treasure. But no, it comes 10 minutes later.
Yeah, the treasure part. They're swabbing the poop deck or something, right?
I think so. Yeah. And it's he already did the digging. You don't need to dig it, Scooby-Doo. Turns out, all 3 songs in this movie were from other previously released Scooby-Doo animated movies.
Oh.
So there's one, there's Scooby-Doo Abracadabra Doo is from the movie Scooby-Doo Abracadabra Doo from
They
2010.
make just a ridiculously large amount of Scooby-Doo stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Who's making all this Scooby-Doo stuff?
Frank Welker. He's like, I want to keep working.
It's insane.
Here's my money.
Scooby-Doo doesn't even make any goddamn sense. Why do people like Scooby-Doo so much?
I do
doesn't
not have
make
an
sense
answer
to
for
me.
you. I have watched plenty of Scooby-Doo in my life, but I'm not what I would consider a Scooby-Doo fan. But there is
I don't know if
so much of it. I think you could do a Scooby-Doo podcast. Not us. I don't want to do this. Somebody could do a Scooby-Doo podcast.
It would be harder than our podcast.
It might be. Although I guess if you just go to Walmart, they might have everything.
It's true.
But one of the other songs, the one that's called Dig It, Scooby-Doo, is from Scooby-Doo Legend of the Phantosaur. So maybe he's
That
digging up
makes sense because
dinosaurs.
he's probably digging up dinosaur bones.
And then
Yeah.
Here Comes Summer is from Scooby-Doo Camp Scare.
They're singing about being around a campfire in that one.
Yep. So the songs make more sense when you realize where they came from. They didn't want to make new songs for this.
Yeah.
And they
I
just said, hey,
suppose
use these,
if-
please.
Maybe if it had been picked up, they would have replaced it with a more appropriate song.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'd be curious to know the behind the scenes on the making of this because you do have so many Muppet and Sesame Street puppeteers working on this and it's produced by Spiffy Pictures. And I wonder if this was a thing where, do you think they would have been replaced had this gone to series? Because maybe this was sort of a thing where David Rudman's company was going to produce this show, but couldn't necessarily fly in people from New York and LA all the time.
That's an expensive stable of performers.
Right.
for
And I
sure.
know a lot of them already travel across the country for Sesame Street. So if you're going to have them also flying to the Chicago area to work on this, that feels untenable to me.
Yeah, maybe they would have gone to LA to put it together for a few months every year or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure. But we'll probably also never know because I don't know that we're going to get like a retrospective on this movie. But the conceit of this entire plot is that they're just hanging out in their treehouse, and then Shaggy and Scooby order a pizza, and lo and behold, a treasure map is delivered with the pirate-themed pizza man.
Baked into the pizza.
Yeah, which
Which you maybe would think, oh, this is a fun little gimmick that the pirate restaurant does, but no, you'd be wrong.
turns out it's an accident. Stu Stukowski, the pizza delivery man, accidentally lost his pirate treasure map. But my biggest question, and maybe this is more evident if you have watched A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, is why are they going after the treasure, Sam?
No idea. That was a weird part of this. There is no crime committed, really.
There is no crime. There is no real mystery that they are like hired for.
They want to be
or...
rich, perhaps.
Yeah, it seems like throughout the whole thing is just our old gang wants to get some treasure.
Yeah.
And they don't want anybody else to have this treasure.
No,
even
and they
if-
will send you to jail if you're trying to get the treasure that they're trying to get in exactly the same way that everybody else is.
even if the other people might be the rightful heirs of this treasure.
It's stolen treasure, but
But they don't seem like they're going to give it back.
no.
And even from the very beginning of this, where you even think, like, obviously, Gnarly Beard and the parrot aren't going to be real because they're going to peel their mask off and they're going to say, hey, meddling kids. But even when it is pitched as this parrot and Gnarly Beard are trying to get the treasure map to go get their treasure, I'm like, yeah, it's their treasure. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let him have the map. Oh, we didn't rate this one out of 5, Sam.
Oh,
What do you rate it?
gosh, this one's hard for me too. I think I'll rate this one 3 stars.
I was-
3 stars. Yeah.
I was also going to say 3.
Okay.
But we did it, Sam. We made it through a very strange birthday episode this year.
I thought it was all right. It was a fun change of pace to watch some different stuff. And like a new energy. I like the different energy than what we have been getting with the Muppet Show.
It was nice, too, to have a sort of a divide in time here where we have the early 90s and then we have this 2013 production.
Mid 2010s ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that Eureka's Castle was as early as it was because it is a little bit. It's very polished. It looks good compared to where we are with the Muppets right now. Sometimes, like, I know that they're making it's a little bit more. The Muppets is a little bit more slapdash.
Yeah, I think it feels like I don't know, you can feel Jim and Frank and these guys working behind the scenes a bit more. Like it feels
Yeah.
Like you can see the men behind the curtain
That's
kind of
true.
thing.
It's more slapdash, but it's more like one man's vision or like a team's vision than kind of a corporate product like Eureka's Castle and this are.
Yeah, which I think the Scooby-Doo one I enjoyed, but it did feel a little bit more of like Hanna-Barbera handing down orders from on high.
Parts of it felt like a labor of love, I think.
Oh,
though.
absolutely.
Like,
And that's why I think
it was weird in a very compelling way.
And that's why I think it was probably a lot of fun to make. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like a lot of these old Muppet performers hanging out for a week or whatever that, making this fun Scooby-Doo thing was probably a good time.
Yeah.
I did want to mention before we wrap up here some other things that were happening in September 1987, the month we were born.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So September 2nd, 1987, Philips introduces CD video.
Whoa, is that like a DVD?
It's a precursor to DVDs that could hold 6 minutes of video.
Whoa.
But they also had an 8-inch version.
Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Map would be like a 6-disc collection.
Well, then they had an 8-inch version that held 20 minutes of video, and then a 12-inch version, like a laser disc, that would hold 60 to 120 minutes of video.
Okay.
On September 11th, 1987, the 4th MTV Video Music Awards were held, where Peter Gabriel won for Sledgehammer.
Wow.
He had 10 nominations at the VMAs that year, and won 9 of the 10.
Not too shabby, Mr. Gabriel.
The only one he lost was the Viewer's Choice Award, which went to U2's With or Without You.
Well, Peter Gabriel's a bit of a thinking man's musician.
Then September 13th, my birthday, the day I was born, a man named Paul Lynch of Great Britain did 32,573 push-ups in 24 hours. Presumably setting a record at the time, not just for funsies.
Wow.
Then on September 22nd, 1987, the TV series Full House debuted.
A big moment in Matt history.
And then on September 28th, 1987, Star Trek The Next Generation debuted.
A big moment in Sam history.
There we go. That's the split. That's the timeline split right there. Is like,
yeah.
I was
That's where
born.
we were different.
I was born, and then Full House debuted. Then you were born, and then Star Trek The Next Generation debuted. And it was like, these two shall be attached to these shows for their lives. Well, that means it's time for our Muppet of the Week. But I didn't do one this week because we didn't watch any Muppets, and I tried to do Magellan the Dragon, but there was very surprisingly little information about the Eureka's Castle puppets. So we're going to move right along, Sam. And I'm going to ask you, besides this very non-Muppety stuff that we watched, did you have any time to enjoy any other non-Muppet things this week?
I'm still watching She-Hulk and still enjoying it quite a bit.
I watched the
Have you
first episode. I liked it, yeah.
The last 2 episodes have been very funny, I thought. That's why I'm surprised by how like genuinely funny it is. And not just in the like normal, that just happened kind of way. It's like comedy writing funny. But also, I didn't watch a ton, but what the Scooby-Doo made me think of was the series Scooby-Doo Mysteries, Inc., which is a more current, well, maybe it was from around 2013, reboot of Scooby-Doo, where it's a little bit more serious, where it's like story arcs. It's not super serious, it's still funny, but it's got like story arcs and real ghosts, and it's like a continuing story of these kids, and they kind of have like actual like conflict with each other, and it just like all built. It's like 3 seasons, I think, that all builds up to like one huge weird kind of like H.P. Lovecrafty sort of mystery, and it's just like them, and they live in this creepy seaside town where there's a bunch of ghosts for some reason, and they're trying to figure it out, and like unraveling like a secret society and like their parents' history. And it's good. Scooby-Doo Mysteries Inc. I have no idea where you can watch it, but I liked it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that it feels like every 3 to 5 years there's like a reboot of Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah, we have never not. I would be surprised if 6 months went by without a new Scooby-Doo thing being released in the past since the 70s, basically.
I remember What's New Scooby-Doo in the early 2000s because the theme song was done by Simple Plan.
Yeah, me too.
I've been enjoying this week Cars on the Road.
Oh, yes. I'm excited to watch this.
Is the new Disney Plus series, which I kind of put on just to have something to watch the other day. It turns out that show's wild. It's very fun because it's written and partially directed by Steve Purcell. You mentioned Sam and Max earlier, actually, and he's the man behind Sam and Max. He's apparently been working at Pixar for a while, which I didn't even realize. And
me either.
I am really glad they handed him the reins on this because it is weird. It is funny. There's a lot of Cars lore that is explored in
From
this.
the way you described it to me, it sounds like somebody else, like, it's like Cars got passed to somebody who did not invent Cars, and then that person was like, "What is this universe?"
That's
We have to
exactly
figure
what it
out.
feels like because they dive into what happens when cars die, what came before cars, what was the evolution of dino cars, are there ghost cars? Like Mater literally dies essentially. And meets like an angel and then has to like reject death and get back into his body.
What the hell?
This happens in a TV show on Disney Plus for children.
Terrific.
And yeah, I'm only like a few episodes in, but it's a lot of fun so far. So yeah, highly recommend. So before we go, we want to let you know what we'll be watching next time. It will be our penultimate Muppet Show discussion as we get back to Season 5 of The Muppet Show and discuss the episodes that aired between May 9th and May 23rd of 1981, featuring guests Wally Bogue, Buddy Rich, and Marty Feldman.
Very interested in the Wally Bogue episode. He's an interesting figure to me.
Marty Feldman, same. All of these have scenes cut out on Disney Plus, so you can get that info on Muppet Wiki, or you can follow us on Twitter at Kermitment Pod, where we'll post the links to where you can watch those things. We should thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing the theme song. Don't forget to head on over to Kermitment.com, pick up the Kermitment logo enamel pin, check out our Patreon page, or just, reach out to us. We have a contact form on there. But you can also email us at mail@Kermitment.com if you have any questions or links to that secret Muppet media out there in the world. And as I mentioned, you can follow this podcast on Twitter at Kermitment Pod, where we post the links to what we'll be watching and at least let you know, like, hey, that's on Disney Plus. You should watch it there. But you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.